Hello, once again, I'm BR Schultz, SP500. Thank you for joining me on this September 21st. This is part 41 of a long-term series into the end of 2035, 34-ish, when I believe that over the next 10 years we're going to see the Great Depression window open up. I spent the day enjoying the Sabbath celebrating Charlie Kirk's life with my family, watching his funeral on YouTube, and enjoying watching the embers of the revival that is happening, the spiritual awakening that's happening around the world is something I think a lot of people have been praying for a long time, and I think we're starting to see that strong Christian revival spirit come back upon America. Unfortunately, through the death of an assassination of Charlie Kirk. So my prayers, obviously, with him. I was really impressed with the entire funeral. Just how each one of the guests, I would say 90% of the speakers, shared the gospel message of Jesus Christ, gave hope to the modern day younger Americans. I'm in my early 40s, so I grew up with Billy Graham in America and John MacArthur and some of these other great preachers from my time, Dr. J. Vernon McGee. I've listened to him for many years, but I think the younger generation really hasn't seen a great preacher, a great evangelist reach out to them. So I think Charlie Kirk was that trumpet blast of the Christian gospel being shared and echoing around the world, more powerful than anything that I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I hope it lasts for a long time. I hope it impacts the next 70 years of America and protects our foundational freedoms in America. Just powerful. So all my love and prayers in Jesus Christ to Erica Kirk and her family, and may the Lord bless Turning Point in its future under her direction. Just wonderful funeral today. Enjoyed every one of the speakers. I think I watched for like 6, 7, 8 hours, so hopefully some of you did as well. And then when I turned my eyes to the stock market, some of the videos I saw on my YouTube feed, I swear I keep on seeing more and more thinking that we're in 1929, that think markets are going to collapse, that everything's going to go horribly for markets. A lot of people projecting that 2025 is some macro peak, then we go down for 15 years or whatever. I've seen it all. So obviously, I keep on saying no. My models are not saying anything like that. I think that's completely wrong. And some of you that have followed me for a long time know that actually I've gotten better at calling macro peaks than anything, honestly. That's where I made most of my greatest calls. Made some huge calls in 2022 that were highly accurate. I called the peak in early 2025, in November 2024. So with that said, I hope that my models, for some reason, have an edge over the competition when it comes to calling macro peaks. So I just want to reiterate on part 41 of my long-term series why I believe that the Great Depression begins in about 59.5 months from now. So at the end of 2030, roughly. So I don't see a Great Depression coming here. I know that a lot of people are saying now we're in a soft depression now. Things like that. We are not in a soft depression right now. We are not. Not in any way, shape, or form. Markets, in terms of the stock market, we will keep going up. A Great Depression is when the stock market collapses. And in tandem with so many other bad things happening, people losing their jobs. They never call a depression when the stock market's going up and people lose their jobs. It just never happens. They look at the quarters. They're going to see how much return has been yielded over a quarterly basis, and that's how they determine a recession or depression. And we all know that I think recession is, is it 18 months? So they know how to play the game where they keep it exactly 18 months or a little less than 18 months. Just to make sure that it's only a recession, not longer, not a depression. So I'm going to argue the point today, and I have been arguing the point for many, many months, that the Great peak of the markets is not going to happen until February of 2028, and then a secondary echo macro peak will occur at the end of 2030. So that's what I wanted to discuss with you tonight. So try to discuss some more pertinent points. My viewership is low on YouTube. I think it's because maybe I give away all my cards. I don't really keep any mystery to my work. I don't really want to keep any mystery, honestly. I like to keep it pretty straight and to the point. That way you can grade me. You can grade my work. I think there's a market peak coming on October 3rd of 2025, and I think we're going to crash into roughly October 20th through 23rd. Roughly should be the bottom somewhere in there. I think the first bottom will occur around October 20th, and there's maybe it's another bottom around October 23rd, 22nd, 23rd. But yeah, that's where I see the short-term movement, and some of you have seen that I've developed a new pricing theory, which I find pretty interesting because the first 5 waves brought us up to that 64.80 mark of the pricing projection, and the next pricing projection was 68.10, 68.40, so 6800, 6850, between somewhere in there is the next 5 wave termination point, I believe. So I believe that we could hit slightly above 6800 in that first week of October, and then we could see the crash of 5 to 7, 8% into roughly the October 20th through 23rd low period, and then we'd spend 5 waves up. And again, I think it would be 5 waves usually takes about 3 months, so that would lead us into that that early to mid February timeframe. So that's when we would see the next target of, I think, about 7,300 or 73 roughly, plus or minus 50 points, somewhere in there. Because every 4 months it seems that we hit every 3 months, every 2-3 months we seem to hit these. We seem to form 5 waves in the Einstein model, and I think that's where you hit these price termination targets that the model, or that the formula that I've created it keeps on drawing out. So I think we hit 68.40 around early October. Then we crash 5 to 7%, and then we could peak obviously at the end of there's going to be a peak at the end of November, end of December, early January, and then sometime in early February I think is the final peak. So that could be wave 1 up into end of November, then you could have wave 3 up until the end of December, early January, and then you could have wave 5 up into early February. So that'd be the 5 wave movement, bringing us up to about 7,300 in early February. So I think that my pricing termination levels are the measurement at the end of the 5 waves. So again, that takes about 3 months time to achieve that, because we saw on April a mid-April low, end of July peak. So that's just about 3 months, and that was the first price termination level, if you remember. So I think it's taking about these 3 month windows, and then you hit these 400 or 500 point termination levels. So again, looking for about a little over 6,800 October 3rd for a peak, and then a crash, macro crash, and then a 7,300 peak in early February, and then a crash then into March. So that's how I would measure that. So if you're looking for the high level view of my thoughts, that's it. And then let's move on to the graph that would show you the macro view that I'm getting, and why I think the majority of these voices right now are wrong. That we're not starting a Great Depression yet. We're not starting some huge monstrous crash. The debt bubble and all these things and people's credit and all that. I don't think that's going to take effect right now. I think we got a few more years to go. So, and if you want to donate on PayPal, you can. Maybe people don't want to donate on the GoFundMe, or if you think that I should start a Give Send Go account, please let me know down in the comments. Or if you would rather donate in PayPal, I guess I was thinking that I could have a Give Send Go account along with the GoFundMe account. That way you could see the tally between the two if people I don't want to use the PayPal. I can understand preferences. I get it. Some people have preferences over others. I don't like to use Zelle, the Zelle app, or other apps for banking. I like to. I just don't like using the apps because I've read the fine print. It said that they won't refund. They're not responsible for any missent funds or anything like that. So there's always a layer of liability when it comes to some of these app payment systems. So I completely understand. But yeah, if you like my work and want to donate, want to encourage me, please, you can always choose one of those accounts. But here, I want to get to my reason why I have a very strong argument why I believe many of these voices are wrong that you're hearing right now, that we're at some major crash, long-term bear market, kind of like Avi Gilbert was saying in 2023, I believe. If I remember correctly, he was saying something about a decade-long bear market from around 2023, or 2021. I don't remember what it was. It was, I think it was 2023. Something about a decade-long bear market, and he was saying we're in the fifth wave up, and it's the end of the end of the end. And I kept on saying no. Since 2022, I've been saying that the macro peak will be at the end of 2030. And so I want to show you why. Some of you have seen it before, but those of you new, please feel free to enjoy. If you want me to start up a Discord chat group, please share my work. If I get up to 10,000 subscribers, then I'll start up a Discord group. I really don't see how that's possible. I don't see my work taking off. Even if I make it huge, I just don't see how that's even possible. I honestly, that's why I put the target up so high for Discord group, because I've got a lot of kids at home. I've truly tried to live out the Charlie Kirk principles before Charlie Kirk was even espousing them. I have 7 kids at home, so obviously I've been kicking out kids for a long time now. My oldest is almost 2 decades old. So yeah, I've always wanted a big family, so I was blessed to have such. God's been kind to me, and Lord Jesus has been kind to me in that. So yeah, that's for another day. But anyways, if you want me on Discord, if you want to chat with me, whatever, I try to make it unattainable, because that way I know without a shadow of a doubt that that's what I'm supposed to do by putting out the target out so high, around 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I think it's unattainable, and just like the $777,000 target at the end of 2034 in gifts and donations, I think that's unattainable too. But I put those out there just in case. If they are attainable, I want to know that I've really met the mark. So let's move on to the graphs. This is the monthly model. I call it the Black Wave monthly model. This is one of the first macro peak models I ever built. Basically, it called out the peak in end of 07. It called out the peak in end of 2014. It called out a peak at the end of 2021. And then you can see from the dark blue line, it called out a peak at the end of 2024, which was spot on. Pretty awesome, right? I thought it was pretty sweet. But the light green diagonal going out to the end of 2030, it's got a beautiful 3 count. And I'm sorry, you're just all these other big names that they're crying and whining and saying that we're gonna have some huge depression, we're in some soft depression, yada yada yada. It's not happening. I understand car sales might break because the price point's too high. I understand that the home sales aren't gonna budge because the price point's too high. It's not gonna affect the markets. It's not. So I believe that the interest rates are gonna go down into their lowest point into early 2028 or late 2020, at the very end of 2027, early 2028. That should be the low in the interest rates. And that's where you're gonna see the macro peak in the markets. Okay, and then you're gonna see a secondary macro peak, an echo wave peak, or the end of wave 2 up, if you will, in the end of 2030. Wave 3 down is where all the pain's going to happen. Okay, 2031 through 2033 is going to be horrendous in the stock market. That's when the Great Depression window is going to start, in my opinion. I don't think markets can break the sequence. I think it's unbreakable. Honestly, I don't think it's prideful to say that. I think that I've seen this happen enough times where the patterns present themselves, and I find them unbreakable. Every time that I've tried to bet against them, every time that I've thought that I can bet against one of these peak models, the peak models. Many years ago, I said I don't know when I'll ever be able to build a peak model. It'll be by God's grace if I ever be able to create a consistent performing peak model. All right. And so lo and behold, not only did God give me a few of them, but now I find them to be unbreakable. Right. I know that's a pretty strong terminology, and again, I don't want to be prideful in that, but as Charlie Kirk says, prove me wrong. I don't think the markets are going to prove me wrong. I think these models are going to prove me right. So the macro peak, the final peak in markets will be, in my view, at the end of 2030. So don't buy into all the hype that markets are going to collapse, blah, 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 all the debts and all these things, and Chinese markets collapsing, all that. Don't buy into it, in my opinion. And if hopefully some people get rewarded very well. I'm not a professional in any way, shape, or form. Please speak with a financial professional prior to investing. If you like my work, please feel free to donate. Again, you can watch the old videos from, I don't know, early 2025 if you want. If you want to find the PayPal link, you can do that. If you want me to create a Give Send Go account for my 2034 target, you can encourage me and tell me in the comments below you want me to do that. I have a Venmo and Cash app if you want to look at the old videos from early 2025. The links are in those videos. So whatever you want, please feel free to comment in the comments below. I might quit doing this for a while. I think I've given out a lot of information. Not that I feel defeated, but I don't think that my work's either being watched or anything, or I'm not getting in sync with the markets, right? I haven't really hit a huge sync yet to really maybe garner any donations, earn any donations, so to speak, in the eyes of the viewer. Again, I say earn in the eyes of the viewer, not earn as in any type of payment, right? Because it's all donations. But I might quit for a while. I'm not really, I don't know. I think I put out a lot of great information. And I think sometimes as if you want to be legendary, beyond legendary, I think I proved that in 2022 that my models are beyond legendary. But I think sometimes if you want to be beyond legendary, you have to turn into a ghost, right? Like the creator of Bitcoin became a ghost. Charlie Kirk obviously is being honored, and he is with the Holy Ghost now. And Elvis Presley, obviously, he's still very much missed today, even 50 years after the fact. His greatness lives on, right? So I don't know. I'm praying about it, asking Lord for help, wisdom. But maybe it's time for me to give it up. Maybe I'll reach my my donation goals should everything turn out with macro peaks around early 2028 or the end of 2030. But I'm just not getting any donations, and like everyone else, you like to get donations. You like to get some type of approval by the markets, right? That are receiving your work. So that's all I've got to say today. And maybe I'll make 43 part series. Maybe I just have a couple more to go, and maybe I'll hang up my hat for a while. I don't know. But I think my work is solid. I think I've put out consistent information about the macro peak in markets for early 28 and end of 2030, and then the Great Depression. So maybe I'm trying too hard. Maybe I'm putting out too much information, which, as a father, sometimes you talk too much, and sometimes better to keep your mouth shut for a while. I think all my links are out there. Like I've said, you have Cash App, you have Venmo, you have PayPal, you have what's the other one? The GoFundMe. If you want me to throw out a Give Send Go, you certainly can. Like I said, put that in the comments below. Put anything in the comments below. If you want me to disappear for the next 5 years and then 2030, put that in the comments below. But either way, I think I think we don't really have a Great Depression ahead of us like all the big fish are saying. All some of these bigger names are saying. I think they're just trying to create clickbait. I don't try to create clickbait in my videos. I think many of you know that. So I try to keep it pretty clean, pretty boring, because as a dad, I don't like surprises. I want to know what's up front. I want a good guess. If you did good, I'm going to give you a high five. If you missed, I'm going to say, well, hopefully you try better next time. But if you have a good system, usually I can tell, right? Usually the moms and dads out there that are level-headed, that know when their kids are trying, and know when the kids are doing good, right? Really good. You can tell, right? When your kids are good at what they do, you can tell. When they're getting A's in their classes, you know that your kid's doing well. And we quiz them off the bat, and off the top of their head, they're nailing the calls and saying things above your head. You know your kids are smart. So that's basically how I'm judging my work here. But I don't think the big names are going to be able to call me wrong with my end of 2030 macro call. I just don't think you're going to be able to do it. So I think that second peak at the end of 2030 macro peak is going to be the doozy, and then everything goes downhill in 2031, 2032, 2033. And obviously the voting base is shifting. It's going to be a huge conservative movement in the next few years in voting. And then they're going to blame, the great economic collapse on all the conservative values. You know how it's going to go. All the curse, once crime starts getting tackled in all these different areas of markets, and all these dark money pools, and all this corrupt money around the world starts drying up, it is going to create an economic collapse. It really is. You can't have dark money funneling all over the world and then dry up and then expect everything's going to be peaches. No, there's going to be, like, when all this stuff starts getting cleaned up and corrected, it's going to first create a huge roar up in the markets. And then once all this stuff clears by the end of 2030, once all the crime goes away, or a majority of the crime goes away, once a lot of this garbage is dealt with by President Trump and other conservatives, once all the corruption in Congress gets dealt with on some level, maybe let's say 25% of the corruption is dealt with, right? 30% of the corruption, right? It's still a big chunk of corruption that could be dealt with. A lot of the criminal money, things like that, a lot of the drug money, drug cartels getting shut down, a lot of all this money funneling into our country. By shutting it down, eventually there's going to be some ill effects, unless the tariffs really offset it well. But whatever it is, the 2031 through 2033 period is going to be, the model says that's going to be the darkest window that we're going to have to live through. So again, let the big names prove me wrong here in September of 2025. I just don't see a Great Depression around the corner yet. All right? I've been saying this for 3-4 years now. So prove me wrong. Try it. See if you can do it. I don't think you can beat my models. Take care. Again, this is just a snippet of the GoFundMe page. I didn't want you to forget that. So thank you. And please bookmark it, whatever, and watch it over the next decade or into late 2034. Thank you so much.